Freedom doesn't arrive the moment life gives you more. It arrives the moment you finally allow less. When access to your time, your energy, and your inner world stops being wide open, life quietly rearranges itself. The noise that once drained you begins to fade. The people who relied on your constant availability start revealing their true intentions, and the pressure to always show up, always respond, always accommodate, finally breaks. Where access ends, freedom begins as unpacks the transformation that unfolds when you no longer let everyone reach the deepest parts of you. By limiting access, you create space for clarity, healing, and a level of peace you may have forgotten existed. Some connections strengthen, others fall apart, but what remains is a version of you that feels centered, grounded, and whole. Because true freedom isn't found in opening every door, it's found in knowing which ones must stay closed. And once you learn to protect your energy with intention, you discover a life that feels lighter, calmer, and undeniably yours. Closed doors often reveal more truth than open ones ever could. When access to your energy stops being automatic, life begins to shift in ways that feel both unsettling and liberating. Doors that once stayed open out of habit start closing out of necessity. These closures are not acts of rejection, but acts of protection. What you once tolerated becomes clearer, and what you once allowed becomes questioned. Freedom begins quietly as these doors settle shut. Closing a door does not erase what once existed behind it. Instead, it redefines the value of what remains. Every time a door closes, a part of your spirit gains room to breathe again. The heaviness from carrying too many responsibilities starts lifting slowly. The weight of unbalanced connections loses influence. In the stillness that follows, clarity rises. Clarity becomes the guiding force that supports emotional restoration. Restoration shapes the early stages of freedom. Freedom is not always loud. Sometimes it begins with silence. When certain voices can no longer reach you, their absence exposes how deeply they once drained you. Silence becomes the space where your mind finally settles. Your spirit starts untangling emotional knots you didn't realize were there. As these knots loosen, understanding deepens. You begin to see what was once hidden beneath the noise. That understanding fuels inner strength. Closed doors create boundaries without explanation. They stand as statements of worth, signaling that your space can no longer be accessed casually. Boundaries that were once difficult to enforce now feel natural. They are shaped not by anger, but by growth. Within these boundaries, your energy feels safer. Safety becomes a foundation that supports self-respect. Self-respect paves the way for long-lasting freedom. When access ends, expectations shift. People accustomed to your constant availability must confront the new distance. Some respond with resistance, revealing how much they depended on your openness for their convenience. Others respond with understanding, confirming the authenticity of their connection. This contrast provides insight into the relationships that deserve to stay. Insight brings emotional protection. Protection strengthens your freedom. Freedom expands when you no longer absorb the emotions of others. Doors that close prevent the influx of worries, pressures, and expectations that never belong to you. Without these influences, your thoughts become clearer. You start distinguishing between genuine responsibility and unnecessary burden. The separation between the two brings peace. Peace becomes the quiet reward of emotional independence. Every closed door teaches a lesson in alignment. You learn which environments strengthen your well-being and which environments drain your spirit. You begin choosing spaces based on how they make you feel rather than how they appear. This awareness leads to intentional living. Intentionality shapes each decision with purpose. Purpose supports a life that aligns with true freedom. Closed doors are often misunderstood as avoidance, but in reality, they protect the journey unfolding within you. Growth requires room to think, room to breathe, room to evolve. When fewer people have access to your inner world, distractions lose their power. You become more aware of your needs, desires, and personal truths. Awareness nurtures transformation. Transformation becomes the evidence of freedom awakening. Freedom grows in the space that once belonged to chaos. When the door shuts on unhealthy access, emotional turbulence begins to settle. The storms that once erupted without warning become distant memories. In their place, a steady calm emerges. Calmness becomes the atmosphere of your daily life. This atmosphere reveals the power of choosing stillness over urgency. Closed doors also allow healing to unfold naturally. Wounds that were constantly reopened by repetitive patterns finally have the chance to mend. Healing requires time, distance, and gentleness elements that can only exist when access is limited. As your heart heals, it becomes stronger. Strength built from healing opens new forms of freedom. Freedom that cannot be shaken by old triggers. Freedom emerges through self-awareness. When you control who enters your life, you recognize your own emotional patterns more clearly. You notice where you compromise too much, where you shrink too quickly, and where you give without receiving. This observation encourages change. Change empowers you to act from wisdom rather than reaction. Wisdom becomes a guiding light in your renewed path. Closed doors elevate your standards. You begin expecting respect, consistency, and sincerity from those around you. Anything less becomes unacceptable. These standards are not walls, they are invitations for better experiences. As you raise them, the world begins responding differently. Life starts aligning with your worth rather than your wounds. Alignment strengthens emotional freedom. Freedom is also found in solitude. Being unreachable gives you uninterrupted moments to reconnect with your inner voice. That voice, once overshadowed by external influence, becomes louder and clearer. It guides you back to parts of yourself you thought were lost. Solitude becomes a sanctuary for self-reconstruction. Reconstruction leads to a stronger foundation. A strong foundation makes freedom unshakable. Each closed door creates emotional space. In that space, new perspectives form, new priorities emerge, and new desires awaken. You start realizing how much of your life was shaped by the needs of others. You begin reshaping it around what nourishes you instead. This shift brings empowerment. Empowerment gives rise to a new identity rooted in authenticity. Authenticity nurtures freedom effortlessly. Closed doors reveal how much energy was spent on things that added no value to your growth. It becomes clear how much of yourself was scattered in places that didn't deserve you. As you reclaim that energy, you feel more whole. Wholeness brings emotional stability. Stability supports a life free from dependency on external approval. Approval from within becomes the source of confidence. Freedom deepens when you stop explaining why access must be limited. Justifying boundaries once felt necessary, but now it feels irrelevant. Your peace is reason enough. This acceptance frees you from arguments and expectations. It allows you to stand firm without defending your choices. Firmness in your decisions enhances your inner power. Power fuels your continued evolution. Closed doors define who you are becoming. They reflect a version of you that prioritizes emotional balance and personal truth. As this version grows, you become more intentional with your presence. People feel the difference. You feel the difference. This internal shift creates a life that feels more aligned and less fragmented. Alignment brings serenity. Serenity reinforces freedom. Freedom grows when you accept that not every connection was meant to stay. Some were meant to teach, some to challenge, and some to leave. Recognizing this truth brings closure without bitterness. Release becomes easier. Releasing what weighs you down opens space for what lifts you up. Lifted energy elevates your entire life. Elevation becomes a natural outcome of protected access. Closed doors also teach patience. Freedom is not achieved overnight. It blooms gradually as you continue protecting your peace. Each day brings a new layer of understanding, a new piece of healing, a new spark of clarity. Patience allows these changes to unfold without force. As each layer forms, your inner world becomes stronger. Strength shapes your freedom into something lasting. Freedom born from closed doors is not about restriction, it is about reclamation. You reclaim your energy, your time, your identity, and your future. By deciding who gets access, you decide who gets influence. And when influence is limited to what nourishes you, life becomes lighter, clearer, and more aligned. This is the kind of freedom that doesn't need permission. This is the freedom that begins when access ends. Peace begins to form the moment noise loses its access to your inner world. Noise once filled every quiet space with tension, urgency, or emotional pressure. When distance is created, that noise loses its power to shape your thoughts. What used to feel overwhelming becomes faint, almost irrelevant. As the volume drops, calmness rises gently. This calmness becomes a steady presence that supports emotional clarity. Noise does not always arrive in loud ways. Sometimes it enters through small, constant interruptions that drain you without warning. Stepping back from these disruptions reveals how deeply they once influenced your mood and decisions. The absence of these distractions feels unfamiliar at first, but it quickly becomes a source of relief. In this relief, the mind discovers quiet pathways it never had the space to explore. Quietness becomes a nourishment. Nourishment allows peace to grow. When noise can no longer reach you, your thoughts begin to settle. They move from chaotic waves to gentle currents that flow without resistance. This mental stillness makes it easier to see what truly matters. Decisions become clearer, emotions become more balanced, and reactions become more intentional. With this clarity, you regain ownership of your inner world. Ownership brings stability. Stability strengthens deep-rooted peace. Peace also arrives when emotional noise fades. Emotional noise often comes from people with constant demands, unpredictable reactions, or unspoken expectations. When distance is created, their influence weakens. Their emotions no longer dictate yours. You stop absorbing what doesn't belong to you. This separation gives your heart a chance to recalibrate. Recalibration restores emotional equilibrium. Equilibrium nurtures lasting peace. Noise loses its power the moment you stop responding to it. Every unanswered message, every declined invitation, and every ignored pressure becomes a step toward freedom. You begin choosing what deserves your attention rather than reacting to everything placed in front of you. This choice gives you control over your environment. Control invites serenity. Serenity becomes the atmosphere that surrounds you. As noise fades, silence becomes more comforting. Instead of feeling empty, silence becomes a sanctuary, an inward space where your thoughts breathe without interruption. In this sanctuary, self-awareness expands. You start recognizing feelings you once suppressed and desires you once ignored. Awareness becomes grounding. Grounding deepens the sense of peace that fills your days. Peace grows when external chaos can no longer reach your emotional core. Even if life remains busy, the inner world stays calm. Challenges become manageable, and uncertainties lose their intensity. Your reactions shift from impulsive to thoughtful. You approach situations with clarity rather than panic. This emotional shift becomes a powerful form of strength. Strength reinforces the peace you've created. When noise cannot reach you, relationships also transform. The ones rooted in respect adjust naturally to your new boundaries. They approach with care instead of pressure. Presence instead of demand. The ones built on convenience often fade away. This natural separation reveals which connections support your well-being. Supportive relationships amplify peace. Peace becomes easier to protect when surrounded by the right people. Peace deepens when you stop trying to fix everything around you. Noise often comes disguised as problems that aren't yours to solve. Stepping back allows others to carry their own responsibilities. It releases you from emotional labor that never belonged to you. This release feels like a breath you've been holding for years. That breath makes room for emotional balance. Balance keeps peace anchored. Noise becomes weaker when your boundaries strengthen. Boundaries act as shields that filter what enters your inner world. When firmly held, they prevent chaos from slipping through. They protect your energy, time, and mental clarity. As these boundaries hold, your sense of safety increases. Safety becomes a foundation of calmness. Calmness fuels a deeper form of peace. As noise fades, you begin recognizing your true emotional needs. The distractions that once drowned them are no longer present. You notice what brings comfort, what sparks joy, and what restores your spirit. This understanding shapes healthier habits and more nurturing routines. These changes support emotional harmony. Harmony enriches your sense of peace. Peace becomes more noticeable in the small moments, quiet mornings, gentle sunlight, slow conversations, and restful pauses. These moments once felt insignificant but now become valuable sources of grounding. They remind you that you don't need constant motion to feel alive. Stillness carries its own form of power. That power strengthens the peace taking root within you. When noise can't reach you, your intuition becomes clearer. Without external influence clouding your thoughts, your inner guidance becomes stronger. You begin trusting your instincts with confidence rather than hesitation. This trust leads to choices that align with your well-being. Alignment simplifies life in profound ways. Simplicity becomes a doorway to deeper peace. Peace also arrives when comparison finally fades. Noise often fuels comparison by reminding you of expectations, pressures, and unrealistic standards. Without that noise, you begin focusing on your own journey. You appreciate your pace. You respect your growth. Acceptance of your uniqueness creates emotional freedom. Freedom brings calmness that feels steady and natural. The absence of noise allows healing to unfold. Old wounds resurface gently, not to hurt you but to be acknowledged. With no outside chaos interrupting this process, healing becomes steady and continuous. You learn to release pain you carried for too long. This release lightens your spirit. A lighter spirit naturally gravitates toward peace. When noise fades, gratitude takes its place. You start noticing the beauty in simplicity, the joy in small victories, and the comfort in quiet moments. Gratitude softens your heart and shifts your perspective toward what uplifts you. It elevates your emotional state and reinforces your inner peace. Peace becomes a daily experience instead of a rare one. Noise once made you feel responsible for everything around you. Without it, you realize how much of that responsibility was imagined or imposed. You no longer carry burdens that don't align with your well-being. This release feels liberating. Liberation creates emotional spaciousness. Spaciousness allows peace to expand freely. Peace also grows through acceptance, accepting what you can control, what you must release, and what you must simply observe. This acceptance transforms the way you engage with life. You no longer react to every disturbance. You choose where to place your focus. This choice strengthens your inner calm. Calmness becomes a lifestyle. When noise no longer determines your internal world, your identity transforms. You operate from clarity, not confusion, intention, not interruption, inner truth, not external pressure. This transformation reflects a version of you that feels grounded, empowered, and deeply connected to inner peace. That connection becomes a guiding force in everything you do. The peace that arrives when noise can't reach you is not fragile. It is earned, protected, and deeply rooted. It grows from intentional distance, steady boundaries, and emotional awareness. It reshapes your relationships, your mindset, and your daily life. And in this peace, you find a freedom that feels calm, steady, and beautifully unshakable. Energy is one of the most valuable resources you possess. Yet it is often the first thing offered and the last thing protected. When your energy flows without boundaries, it gets scattered across obligations, expectations, and emotional demands that drain you slowly. Treating your energy like something sacred reshapes the way you interact with the world. It encourages intention in every exchange. Intention teaches you the importance of preservation. Preservation becomes a quiet form of power. Guarding your energy begins with recognizing its worth. When you start valuing it as something precious, you stop giving it away to situations that add nothing to your growth. You begin noticing who enriches it and who diminishes it. This awareness allows you to make choices that align with your emotional well-being. These choices feel empowering rather than restrictive. Empowerment strengthens the foundation of inner balance. Balance supports long-term peace. Energy flows differently when it is respected. Instead of pouring it into chaotic spaces, you start investing it into environments that nurture your spirit. You learn to withdraw from conversations that drain your clarity, interactions that unsettle your peace, and patterns that keep you emotionally exhausted. The more selective you become, the more radiant your internal world feels. This radiance becomes noticeable not only to you, but to those around you. Radiance is the result of intentional energy protection. Guarding your energy requires a shift from responding to everything toward responding only to what aligns with your values. Not every issue deserves your attention, and not every request deserves your effort. Choosing where to engage becomes an act of self-respect. Self-respect shapes the boundaries that protect your spirit from depletion. With these boundaries in place, your energy stays rooted rather than scattered. Rooted energy creates emotional clarity. Clarity deepens your strength. Treating your energy like sacred currency means understanding that every exchange affects you. Some interactions uplift you, others drain you, and some leave you unchanged. The ones that uplift deserve more space, and the ones that drain deserve less. This realization changes how you show up in relationships. It teaches you to recognize the difference between reciprocity and extraction. Reciprocity strengthens connection. Extraction weakens your spirit. Your energy becomes sacred the moment you stop allowing others to access it without intention. Too often, you give emotional labor to those who never earn it. You offer time to situations that never honor it. When you begin guarding your energy, Your generosity becomes purposeful rather than automatic. This shift does not harden your heart, it refines it. Refinement brings emotional clarity. Clarity allows you to give without losing yourself. Energy protection teaches you to walk away from chaos without guilt. Chaos thrives on constant attention, and when you step away, it can no longer feed on your presence. The distance you create becomes a form of self-preservation. Self-preservation is not selfish. It is essential. Essential habits protect your mental clarity. Clarity builds an inner world that feels secure. Security is the foundation of peace. Guarding your energy transforms the way you think. Instead of reacting to everything around you, you begin observing before responding. This shift brings calmness into moments that once felt overwhelming. Your mind becomes quieter, your emotions feel lighter, and your decisions become wiser. Wisdom grows when energy is protected rather than drained. Protected energy leads to thoughtful choices. These choices shape a healthier life. Energy treated as sacred cannot be wasted on people who only take and never give. You begin recognizing the patterns of those who remain close for convenience, not connection. Distance becomes necessary when someone drains more than they contribute. This distance creates space for meaningful connections to enter. Meaningful connections amplify your energy instead of consuming it. Amplification fuels your growth. Growth enhances your freedom. Guarding your energy means honoring your emotional limits. Every person has a threshold, and crossing it invites exhaustion. When you acknowledge your limits, you give yourself permission to rest without apology. Rest becomes a powerful act of restoration. Restoration replenishes what life has taken from you. Replenished energy makes you feel alive again. Feeling alive reconnects you with your inner strength. Your energy becomes a sacred currency when you stop using it to maintain appearances. The pressure to be always available, always accommodating, always supportive drains you quietly. When you release this pressure, your spirit begins to rise. You start prioritizing authenticity over performance. Authenticity creates emotional transparency. Transparency lightens the emotional load you carry. Lightness brings peace. Guarding your energy allows you to experience stillness without discomfort. Stillness becomes a place of healing rather than an unfamiliar pause. In this stillness, your heart recalibrates. Your thoughts soften, and your mind clears. These moments reconnect you with your inner truth. Connection with your truth deepens your self-awareness. Self-awareness guides you toward a life that nurtures your spirit. When your energy is protected, you begin to see how much you once overextended yourself. You notice the times you gave more than you had, the moments you stayed longer than you should, and the situations you tolerated out of fear. This recognition is not meant to judge your past, but to empower your future. Empowerment comes from understanding your patterns. Understanding leads to transformation. Guarding your energy teaches you to value quality over quantity in relationships, commitments, and interactions. You stop chasing validation from those who don't reciprocate your effort. Instead, you invest in connections that honor your presence. These connections feel peaceful, steady, and authentic. Authenticity strengthens emotional trust. Trust restores what exhaustion once took from you. Energy treated as sacred cannot thrive in environments rooted in chaos or negativity. By stepping away from these environments, you protect your emotional landscape. This protection removes unnecessary stress and makes room for calm. Calmness becomes a companion rather than an occasional visitor. With calmness comes grounded thinking. Grounded thinking supports healthier decisions. Guarding your energy also means becoming selective with your emotional availability. Every person does not deserve the same level of access to your heart, your thoughts, or your time. Selectivity does not reduce your kindness. It enhances its value. Your kindness becomes a meaningful gift rather than a constant expectation. Meaningful giving strengthens your spirit. A strengthened spirit holds peace with ease. Your energy becomes truly sacred when you stop negotiating your worth. You no longer allow people to convince you that your boundaries are unreasonable or your needs are excessive. You begin to see your worth reflected in the way you protect yourself. Protection becomes an act of self-love. Self-love fuels confidence. Confidence empowers you to stand firmly in your truth. Guarding your energy helps you create a life with intentional rhythms. You replace chaotic patterns with healing routines, quiet moments, and meaningful choices. These rhythms support emotional balance. Balance brings harmony to your days. Harmony deepens your sense of freedom. A free heart moves differently. It moves with calm, clarity, and purpose. Energy preserved with intention creates space for clarity to grow. Clarity helps you see opportunities that align with your spirit and avoid those that drain it. You begin choosing experiences that elevate you. These choices shape your future in powerful ways. A future built with intention honors your emotional well-being. Well-being nurtures your highest potential. Guarding your energy like a sacred currency transforms your entire relationship with yourself. It teaches you to honor your worth, protect your peace, and choose your connections with purpose. Through this transformation, your life becomes lighter, calmer, and more aligned with your truth. And in that alignment, you discover that safeguarding your energy is not just a practice, it is a form of freedom that grows stronger with every choice you make. Walking away is often misunderstood as surrender, but in truth, it can be the most powerful act of reclaiming your life. When you choose to distance yourself from situations that damage your spirit, you reclaim authority over your emotional world. The path behind you may hold memories, attachments, and familiar routines, but the path ahead opens to freedom. This freedom emerges not from avoidance, but from self-respect. In that respect, liberation begins quietly. It grows stronger with each step away from what no longer serves you. The liberation found in walking away begins with recognizing what has been weighing you down. Some burdens do not reveal their heaviness until you finally set them down. The absence of constant strain shows how deeply you were affected. By stepping away, you give your heart a chance to breathe again. Breathing room becomes emotional oxygen. This oxygen restores clarity that chaos once suffocated. Clarity becomes the earliest sign of freedom. Walking away allows you to see the truth without distortion. When you remove yourself from unhealthy dynamics, the patterns you once tolerated become unmistakable. You begin to see how much energy was wasted trying to fix what was never yours to fix. Distance brings perspective. Perspective exposes the cost of staying too long. With this exposure, inner strength grows. Strength becomes the engine that moves you forward. Liberation unfolds when you stop negotiating your worth. Staying in spaces that undervalue you teaches others how little they need to give. Walking away teaches them the opposite. It announces that your peace cannot be bargained for, and your presence cannot be exploited. This announcement is not spoken, it is lived. Living this truth shapes a stronger identity. Identity grounded in self-worth leads to emotional liberation. When you walk away, you interrupt the cycle of giving more than you receive. Cycles that drain, you thrive on your willingness to stay. By breaking these cycles, you reclaim energy that was silently slipping away. That energy begins to rebuild your inner world. Rebuilding brings empowerment. Empowerment fuels a deeper sense of emotional independence. Independence strengthens the freedom you are stepping into. Walking away creates emotional distance that allows healing to surface. Healing rarely appears in environments filled with tension. It needs quiet, space, and gentle reflection. When you leave behind what kept you emotionally exhausted, your wounds begin to soften. Each moment of distance becomes an opportunity for repair. This repair deepens self-awareness. Self-awareness nurtures liberation. Liberation becomes clearer when the noise you once tolerated grows silent in your absence. The noise may have come from conflict, imbalance, or emotional demands that never matched your capacity. Without it, your mind finds peace it forgot existed. This quietness feels unfamiliar at first, but soon it becomes comforting. Comfort creates emotional safety. Safety allows freedom to take root. Walking away rewrites the expectations placed upon you. People who relied on your constant availability must adjust to your absence. Their reactions reveal their intentions. Some respect your decision, while others resist it. These reactions guide you toward relationships that honor your boundaries. Honored boundaries protect your peace. Peace strengthens liberation. The liberation found in walking away is not immediate. It unfolds gradually as you reclaim parts of yourself you abandoned to keep others comfortable. You begin reconnecting with your desires, passions, and forgotten dreams. This reconnection ignites inner potential. Potential thrives in environments where peace is valued. Peace becomes the soil where your freedom grows. Walking away teaches you the power of detachment. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means refusing to carry emotional weight that never belonged to you. By releasing this weight, your spirit becomes lighter. This lightness lifts emotional fog and reveals new perspectives. New perspectives guide you toward choices that support your well-being. Well-being expands your sense of freedom. Liberation deepens when you stop explaining why you left. Explanations are often sought by those who benefited from your silence. Your departure does not require validation. Walking away is enough. This self-assurance reinforces your autonomy. Autonomy strengthens your emotional foundation. A strong foundation supports enduring freedom. When you walk away, you reclaim time. Time once spent worrying, fixing, pleasing, or tolerating. This reclaimed time becomes a gift you give back to yourself. You use it to rest, reflect, and rebuild. Rest restores your clarity. Reflection deepens your wisdom. Rebuilding shapes the next chapter of your transformation. Transformation leads to liberation. Walking away reveals the difference between love and attachment. Love respects boundaries, supports growth, and honors freedom. Attachment clings to comfort, fear, and familiarity. By stepping away, you learn which one truly lived in your relationships. This understanding helps you choose healthier connections moving forward. Healthier connections protect your peace. Peace supports liberation. Liberation grows when your emotions are no longer manipulated by external chaos. By leaving behind what destabilized you, you anchor yourself in inner calm. Calmness becomes the force that guides your decisions. Decisions rooted in calmness reflect confidence instead of fear. Confidence strengthens your independence. Independence expands your freedom. Walking away creates space for new opportunities that were blocked by your attachment to the past. What once felt like loss begins to feel like possibility. Possibility brings hope. Hope brightens your outlook and motivates your growth. Growth becomes the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. Becoming aligns you with liberation. The freedom found in walking away becomes especially powerful when you finally trust yourself. Trust reinforces your choices, strengthens your boundaries, and quiets your doubts. Self-trust turns fear into determination. Determination pushes you toward experiences that nurture your spirit. A nurtured spirit thrives in liberation. Walking away allows your identity to evolve beyond the constraints of your environment. You start living according to your values instead of others' expectations. This alignment creates authenticity. Authenticity feels liberating because it requires no performance. When you live authentically, you feel more grounded and less conflicted. Groundedness reinforces emotional freedom. Liberation becomes fuller when you stop reopening doors that lead to the same pain. Walking away only works when you do not return to what wounded you. This commitment honors your growth. It shows that you value your peace enough to defend it. Defending your peace demonstrates emotional maturity. Maturity supports long-lasting freedom. The liberation found in walking away is not an escape, it is an arrival. You arrive in a space where your voice matters, your boundaries hold, and your heart finally rests. This arrival marks the beginning of a life shaped by intention rather than obligation. In this life, freedom is not fragile, it is protected, nourished, and honored. And as you continue walking forward, that freedom grows stronger, deeper, and entirely yours. Absence has a way of revealing truths that presence often hides. When you remove yourself from spaces where your effort was taken for granted, people are forced to confront the value you quietly provided. Your silence shows what your words could not. Your distance exposes what proximity concealed. In that gap, your worth becomes clearer not only to others, but also to yourself. This clarity becomes a turning point. It marks the beginning of a deeper understanding of your own significance. Your absence pulls away what others leaned on without appreciation. It highlights the support you gave, the stability you offered, and the emotional comfort you carried. When those elements disappear, the void left behind speaks with unmistakable strength. That void becomes a mirror for those who once relied on your constant giving. Through that reflection, they begin to see how much they overlooked. Their realization becomes the first confirmation of your worth. That confirmation strengthens your spirit. Stepping back allows your energy to gather instead of scatter. When you are always present, your worth blends into the background of people's expectations. They begin to view your efforts as routine rather than intentional. But when you disappear from that routine, your absence disrupts their comfort. This disruption forces acknowledgement. Acknowledgement creates awareness. Awareness redefines the meaning of your presence. Absence teaches you the difference between being needed and being valued. Being needed often stems from convenience, while being valued comes from respect. When you distance yourself, these differences become painfully visible. Those who truly value you respond with understanding and adjustment. Those who only needed you react with frustration or silence. This contrast reveals the true nature of your connections. Truth becomes liberating. Liberation deepens your sense of self-worth. Your absence also lifts emotional burdens that never belonged to you. When you constantly show up, you unintentionally absorb the weight of others' tasks, emotions, expectations. Walking away frees you from carrying what was never yours. This freedom feels like a breath returning to the body after years of holding it. In this renewed space, you begin to see your worth separate from what you provide. That separation marks the birth of emotional independence. Independence restores inner strength. People often realize your value only when your presence is no longer accessible. This realization is not a reflection of your inadequacy, but of their blindness. When they can no longer reach you effortlessly, they are forced to reflect on how they treated you. Some become more intentional. Others disappear entirely. Both outcomes serve your growth. Growth makes your absence meaningful. Meaning reshapes your identity. Your absence creates room for others to take responsibility for themselves. When you are always available, you unintentionally shield them from their own growth. Distance requires them to stand on their own, face their own issues, and develop their own strength. This shift benefits you both. You gain space to restore your energy, while they learn the lessons your presence once prevented. Restoration becomes reciprocal. Reciprocity reinforces your worth. Absence teaches you to stop measuring your value by how much you give. You begin understanding that your worth exists, even when you offer nothing but your existence. This understanding heals the parts of you that believed love and acceptance were earned through effort. As this healing deepens, you become less willing to shrink yourself to be chosen. You stop negotiating your presence. You stop apologizing for distance. Distance becomes a declaration of your worth. Your absence challenges patterns that once dictated your life. The cycle of overgiving loses momentum when you step away. The habit of saying yes becomes easier to break. The pressure to be constantly available fades. In its place, you create new rhythms built on intention rather than obligation. These rhythms nurture your peace. Peace reflects your worth in ways words never could. Absence is a powerful teacher because it amplifies the meaning of your presence. When you return to spaces after pulling away, you enter them with a clearer understanding of your boundaries. You show up differently, more grounded, more aware, more confident. People sense this shift. They respond to you with more respect. Respect becomes the new standard. Standards elevate your life. Your absence disrupts comfort zones, not only theirs, but also yours. You step away from familiar patterns, even when they feel difficult to leave. This discomfort signals transformation. Transformation invites growth. Growth anchors your understanding of worth more deeply than praise ever could. With each step away, you gain more clarity. Clarity widens the path toward emotional freedom. Absence reveals who seeks you for your presence and who seeks you for your benefits. People who value your essence reach out with genuine care. They respect your boundaries and honor your pace. Those attached only to what you provide eventually fall away. Their absence becomes a gift. This gift protects your energy. Protected energy strengthens your emotional foundation. Your absence teaches you patience with yourself. You learn to rest without guilt, to pause without explanation, and to breathe without pressure. This patience nurtures your emotional healing. Healing helps you reconnect with forgotten parts of yourself. Strength you underestimated, desires you suppressed, dreams you ignored. Reconnection leads to renewal. Renewal shapes the next chapter of your worth. When you step back, you reclaim your identity from the roles others assign to you. You stop being the fixer, the rescuer, the constant supporter. You become someone who chooses how much to give and when to give it. This choice empowers you. Empowerment enhances your understanding of what you bring into the world. Understanding enriches your sense of worth. Your absence also reveals the depth of your resilience. Walking away takes courage. Courage to face loneliness, judgment, or uncertainty. But through that courage, you discover strength you didn't know you had. This strength becomes part of your identity. Identity built on resilience reshapes your life in ways that cannot be undone. These foundations hold your worth firmly. Absence becomes liberating When you finally accept that not everyone deserves proximity to your heart. Some people appreciate you more from a distance. Some never appreciated you at all. Learning this truth frees you from chasing validation. You begin to value yourself not for who you help, but for who you are. This shift brings emotional clarity. Clarity reinforces your worth. When your absence redefines your worth, you stop explaining why certain doors remain closed. You stop defending your boundaries. Your peace becomes evidence enough. You understand that you owe protection to yourself before anyone else. This understanding brings a sense of pride in your decisions. Pride fuels confidence. Confidence strengthens your presence even in absence. Your absence reminds you that your value is not measured by constant availability. It is measured by the impact your presence carries when it is intentional. You become more mindful of where your energy goes and who receives it. Mindfulness transforms relationships. Transformed relationships support your emotional growth. Growth secures your worth. Your absence becomes a quiet revolution, a reclaiming of space, energy, and identity. It teaches you that stepping back is not losing. It is choosing. Choosing yourself. Choosing your peace. Choosing your future. Through this choice, your worth becomes undeniable. And when your absence redefines your worth, your life becomes aligned with a freedom that no one can take from you. Becoming selective with your heart begins with understanding how deeply access shapes your emotional landscape. When your heart is open to everyone, it becomes vulnerable to energies that may not honor it. But when you choose with intention who is allowed close, your emotional world transforms. This selectivity is not built from fear, it is built from wisdom. Wisdom gathered from experiences that taught you what your heart can no longer endure. Through that wisdom, the power of discernment is born. The heart does not grow stronger by giving itself away endlessly. It grows stronger by choosing where to root its care. Selectivity teaches the heart to value quality over familiarity. You begin recognizing which connections nourish you rather than drain you. This recognition shifts how you move through relationships. You approach with clarity rather than assumption. Clarity protects your emotional depth. Depth thrives when shared intentionally. Becoming selective means no longer allowing your heart to be influenced by fleeting attention or inconsistent affection. Instead, you begin seeking stability people who show up with sincerity, consistency, and emotional maturity. This shift narrows your circle, but strengthens your foundation. You start realizing that not everyone is entitled to your vulnerability. Vulnerability becomes a gift, not an obligation. Gifts shared wisely protect your heart. Selectivity also teaches you to slow down before giving your trust. Trust once given too quickly may have led to disappointment, confusion, or heartbreak. Now, you allow time to reveal true intentions. Time becomes the filter through which authenticity is tested. Through this filter, the right connections remain, while the wrong ones fade. This separation strengthens your intuition. Intuition becomes your guide in emotional choices. Your heart becomes more powerful when you stop chasing acceptance. Selectivity removes the need for validation because your standards shift from external approval to internal alignment. You begin choosing based on how you feel rather than how you are perceived. This shift in perspective brings emotional freedom. Freedom nurtures groundedness. Groundedness strengthens your ability to protect your heart. When you become selective, you stop settling for relationships that require shrinking yourself. You step away from spaces where your kindness is exploited or where your presence goes unnoticed. This departure is not an act of bitterness. It is an act of self-preservation. Preservation reinforces your emotional well-being. Well-being anchors your heart in a place of strength. Strength supports healthier connections. Selectivity helps you understand that love should not be earned through suffering. Too often, the heart remains in places hoping consistency will grow where it never existed. Walking away from these patterns becomes an act of self-respect. Respect reshapes your expectations. Expectations aligned with self-worth protect your emotional boundaries. Boundaries ensure your heart receives what it truly deserves. Your heart becomes powerful when you no longer ignore your own needs. Selectivity teaches you to prioritize your emotional comfort rather than abandoning it to maintain harmony. You begin speaking up where you once stayed silent and withdrawing where you once pushed through. These choices reinforce your self-awareness. Self-awareness sharpens your emotional clarity. Clarity guides your heart with confidence. Becoming selective with your heart also reveals who values you for who you are versus who values you for what you offer. People who respect your selectivity respond with patience, intentionality, and understanding. Those who resist it reveal their entitlement. This distinction simplifies your emotional world. Simplicity protects your peace. Peace creates room for deeper connections to flourish. Selectivity allows your heart to break old patterns. You stop repeating cycles of giving more than you receive. You stop tolerating inconsistency disguised as affection. You stop allowing emotional imbalance to define your relationships. This shift feels liberating. Liberation replaces confusion with stability. Stability supports the growth of authentic love. Your heart becomes more powerful when you no longer allow temporary emotions to dictate permanent decisions. Selectivity encourages measured responses rather than impulsive reactions. You learn to pause, evaluate, and respond with intention. This intentionality reduces unnecessary conflict. Reduced conflict nurtures emotional harmony. Harmony strengthens your sense of self. When your heart becomes selective, you prioritize connections that bring peace rather than excitement. Peace becomes more valuable than unpredictability. You begin seeking consistency over chaos. These preferences reshape your emotional priorities. Priorities built on peace create a stable emotional foundation. This foundation supports healthier expressions of love. Selective hearts do not shut out love. They elevate its quality. Instead of opening yourself to everyone, you open yourself to those who show genuine respect and care. This elevation transforms your relationships. Conversations feel safer, interactions feel deeper, and affection feels more meaningful. Meaningful connection nourishes your heart. Nourishment strengthens your emotional resilience. Selectivity teaches that not everyone who wants your heart deserves it. Some people want access without offering effort. Others want presence without providing support. By denying access to these patterns, you protect yourself from emotional depletion. Protection enhances your emotional intelligence. Intelligence shapes healthier boundaries. Boundaries preserve your heart. Your heart becomes stronger when you stop explaining why certain people can no longer stay. Selectivity does not require justification. It is a natural extension of self-worth. As you honor this truth, you realize that your heart was not meant to be accessible to everyone. This realization brings clarity. Clarity reduces emotional noise. Reduced noise deepens inner calm. Selectivity also helps you embrace solitude without fear. Being alone becomes a place of renewal rather than emptiness. You use this time to understand yourself more deeply, to reconnect with your desires, your values, and your identity. This inward connection fills the spaces that unhealthy relationships once occupied. Filled spaces rebuild your emotional strength. Strength allows you to love wisely. The more selective you become, the more your energy aligns with your truth. You stop forcing connections and start attracting the ones meant for you. These connections feel effortless because they honor your boundaries. Effortless relationships cultivate emotional growth. Growth opens your heart without draining it. An open yet protected heart becomes your greatest asset. Selectivity teaches your heart to move with intention. You begin choosing love that reciprocates, friendships that uplift, and connections that support your evolution. Every step becomes an act of alignment rather than compromise. Alignment brings emotional harmony. Harmony reinforces inner peace. Peace becomes the atmosphere your heart thrives in. The power of becoming selective with your heart lies in understanding that your love is a privilege. It is not something to be accessed carelessly or consumed without gratitude. When you protect it, nurture it, and offer it intentionally, it becomes transformative. This transformation elevates your relationships, strengthens your identity, and builds a life rooted in emotional freedom. And in that freedom, your heart becomes stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever before. A new life begins the moment your boundaries become non-negotiable. These boundaries act as invisible walls that protect your peace, your energy, and your emotional well-being. They are shaped not by anger, but by growth, not by avoidance, but by clarity. The more firmly they stand, the more your life rearranges itself around them. This rearrangement may feel unfamiliar at first, but it becomes a foundation for stability. Stability creates space for a calmer, more intentional existence. Protected boundaries redefine the way you allow others to interact with you. People can no longer come and go as they please, nor can they dictate your emotional landscape. Instead, they must meet you with respect, understanding, and intention. This shift filters out those who were drawn to your convenience rather than your character. As these individuals drift away, the emotional weight you carried begins to lift. This lightness creates room for relationships that honor your worth. Worth becomes the guiding principle of your new life. When your boundaries strengthen, your priorities shift naturally. You begin choosing environments that support your well-being rather than drain it. This shift influences everything: your conversations, your routines, your decisions, and even the way you rest. You stop overcommitting, stop pleasing by force, and stop giving from an empty place. These adjustments may seem small, but they accumulate into profound transformation. Transformation becomes the architecture of your new life. That architecture reflects emotional maturity. Protected boundaries help you understand the importance of saying no without guilt. The word no becomes a tool of liberation rather than a trigger for shame. It protects your time, your heart, and your energy from being misused. Every time you honor this boundary, your confidence grows. That confidence shapes the way you show up for yourself. Showing up becomes an act of self-love. Self-love strengthens the foundation of your new life. Your new life also teaches you the value of emotional distance. Distance does not mean isolation. It means choosing where to place your energy with purpose. You begin stepping back from situations that disturb your peace and withdrawing from connections that drain you. This emotional distance gives you clarity that was once clouded by chaos. Clarity reveals the truth of your relationships. Truth becomes the compass that guides your next steps. Protected boundaries transform your relationship with yourself. You stop criticizing your needs and start honoring them. You stop dismissing your feelings and begin listening to them. This internal shift creates harmony within you, allowing self-respect to flourish. That respect influences the way you carry yourself in every aspect of life. You move with intention, speak with honesty, and act with purpose. Purpose deepens your connection to your own identity. As boundaries strengthen, emotional stability becomes more accessible. You are no longer thrown off balance by others' expectations or unpredictable behavior. Instead, you stay grounded in your own values. Grounding protects you from emotional manipulation. This protection helps you choose reactions rooted in calm rather than impulse. Calmness becomes your emotional baseline. That baseline supports a sense of safety you once longed for. Protected boundaries invite peace into your daily life. With fewer distractions pulling at your attention, you can finally focus on what truly matters. Peace begins to fill the spaces where stress once lived. This peace feels steady, not fragile. It becomes a quiet companion, guiding you through moments of uncertainty with clarity. With peace comes a deeper appreciation for stillness. Stillness becomes a source of strength. Your new life encourages intentional connection. You no longer bond out of loneliness or fear. You connect through alignment and mutual respect. These relationships feel lighter, healthier, and more supportive. They mirror your growth rather than your wounds. You begin experiencing love that uplifts rather than drains. Uplifted love becomes a reflection of the boundaries you protect. That reflection shapes the quality of your life. Protected boundaries help you release old habits that kept you trapped in cycles of overgiving. You stop tolerating behavior that undermines your emotional well-being. You stop accepting apologies without change. You stop shrinking to avoid conflict. These changes may feel uncomfortable, but they create space for healthier patterns to emerge. Healthy patterns lead to emotional freedom. Freedom becomes a reward for your courage. Your new life also teaches you patience with your evolution. You learn to take things slowly, to breathe before reacting, to reflect before deciding. This patience nurtures self-awareness. With deeper awareness, you begin recognizing when your boundaries are being tested and when they need reinforcement. Reinforcing them becomes effortless. Effortlessness turns protection into a lifestyle. This lifestyle anchors your emotional growth. Protected boundaries expand your capacity for joy. Without constant emotional stress, you become more present in your own experiences. You notice the beauty in quiet moments, the comfort in simple routines, and the happiness in small victories. Joy becomes easier to access because you are no longer overwhelmed by unnecessary noise. This joy fuels your motivation to continue protecting your peace. Peace becomes the atmosphere of your new world. Your new life redefines what you consider acceptable. What once seemed normal now feels intolerable. You begin demanding emotional reciprocity, consistency, and respect. These expectations do not make you difficult. They make you aligned. Alignment brings you closer to people who value your presence. Their presence reinforces your sense of worth. Worth grounds your emotional identity. Protected boundaries help you embrace solitude with gratitude. Solitude becomes a space where you recharge rather than a space you fear. In this solitude, you discover parts of yourself that were overshadowed by people who took too much from you. You find clarity, inspiration, and emotional freedom. This relationship with solitude becomes one of the most healing aspects of your new life. Healing deepens your resilience. Resilience strengthens your boundaries. As your boundaries evolve, your self-trust grows. You begin trusting your intuition, honoring your instincts, and believing in your decisions. This trust replaces self-doubt with confidence. Confidence becomes the energy you bring into every situation. That energy helps you attract healthier connections and opportunities. Attraction becomes effortless when your life aligns with your worth. Protected boundaries also help you recognize your emotional capacity. You learn how much you can give before you begin to lose yourself. You learn when to step away, when to rest, and when to protect your heart. This awareness prevents emotional exhaustion. Preventing exhaustion allows you to live with intention. Intention becomes the core of your new life. Your new life invites authenticity. You no longer pretend to be comfortable in places that drain you. You no longer hide your truth to maintain peace that harms you. Instead, you show up honestly, speak openly, and choose fearlessly. This authenticity attracts people who honor your boundaries. Their presence reinforces your evolution. Evolution strengthens your sense of freedom. Protected boundaries allow you to redesign your life from the inside out. You choose what stays, what goes, and what must change. This redesign aligns your world with your emotional needs. Meeting those needs becomes a daily practice rather than a rare exception. This practice redefines your sense of security. Security nurtures emotional expansion. The transformation that unfolds through protected boundaries creates a life rooted in self-respect. You begin to understand that your peace is worthy of protection and your energy is worthy of preservation. This understanding shapes your identity with clarity and strength. Strength becomes the foundation of every choice you make. Through these choices, your life becomes softer, freer, and more aligned with your truth. A new life built on protected boundaries is not about limiting your world, it is about expanding it. It allows you to experience relationships that uplift you, environments that support you, and moments that nourish your spirit. With every boundary upheld, you reclaim pieces of yourself you once abandoned. And through this reclamation, you discover a life that feels authentic, peaceful, and profoundly empowering. Where access ends, freedom begins is a reminder that the life you want is built through the choices you make about who and what you allow into your world. By limiting access, you didn't lose anything. You reclaimed everything. You reclaimed your peace, your clarity, your self-worth, and the parts of yourself that once felt hidden beneath constant demands. This journey has shown that freedom is not found in giving more, but in protecting what is already yours. It lives in your boundaries, in your silence, in your selectivity, and in the courage it takes to walk away from what diminishes you. May this closing message stay with you. Your energy is sacred, your heart is rare, and your presence is powerful. When you choose wisely who gets to reach you, you step into a life that finally reflects your worth. And in that life, your freedom becomes undeniable.